Suicide isn't selfish. Yes, you heard that right. I said what I said, but let's start with a disclaimer. This is all based on my personal experience and personal opinion. I am also not encouraging you to commit. If you need help, seek help. Now, some background information about me. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder at the age of 14. However, my suicidal thoughts started at around 7 years old when I would pray to God to give me all the pain in the world and kill me, like a sadder, younger Jesus. I've never felt right. Always alienated, always different. Looking back, whenever I was sad, I would be suicidal. Whenever I was yelled at, I would imagine dying right in front of them, often by my own hands. When people found out I was depressed, a lot were not happy. Ironic, knowing they were the main trigger. Then they found out I was suicidal, and that wasn't too fun. I've been on medication and have been doing therapy for about 4 years as I wrote this script. It does get better. They were right about that. But it still gets hard. You learn how to deal with it, how to handle your overthinking and your suicidal tendencies, but it's still hard. I wanted to make this video maybe as some sort of vent, but I want people who are struggling to know that they aren't as alone as their brain makes them think. And for people who know someone who is suicidal to understand how someone could think so badly. There are two types of suicidal ideations: active and passive. Passive comes up as a passing thing. They aren't actively thinking of committing. It can appear as a thought of, I hope I don't wake up tomorrow, or I just want to be gone. Active suicide ideations, on the other hand, is having a plan to commit or doing things like collecting pills or obtaining a weapon. Regardless of their differences, both are equally dangerous as oftentimes passive ideations lead to active ones. When someone kills themselves, sometimes I always hear is how selfish. How could they do that to their family? When people are giving advice or comfort, they always say, think about the people you leave behind, your friends, your family. What about them? I hate that. I hate hearing it. I get the sentiments. And yes, personally, at this point in my life, yes, it works sometimes. But that doesn't make it any less horrible. To those who are depressed and suicidal, mostly due to their family issues, saying think about them is just plain insensitive. It's basically saying think about the people that hurt you, the people that led you to this. To those who are suicidal, they often feel like a mistake or a burden. To them, being dead is a favor to those around them, like removing a stain from society. To feel depressed and to be suicidal is to feel isolated, to feel alone. For them, to die is a selfless act that one can do. By saying think about others, you're ignoring how they feel. You're asking them to put the needs and wants of other people when that's all they have been doing. Suicide is not easy. It is not like breathing or something simple. One does not just wake up and stab oneself. Most ways of committing are time consuming, regardless if it's tying the rope or going to the bridge. It is not quick and easy. It takes time. Time gives you a chance to think, a chance to reconsider. I have attempted before, and while yes, it was impulsive, you realize just what you had done. I was lucky enough to somewhat reverse what I did, but that slight window of realization is exactly why I say it is not selfish. Many people who commit often regret it. Sadly, most of them cannot undo what has been done. The planning stage alone gives you plenty of time to think, to reconsider if this is what is right for them. It always seemed to be a backup plan, for me at least. It was always something I would fall back on when things got too much. We are actively suicidal most of the time. It feels like nothing is ever going to get better. Is that true? Of course not. But when you're in that state, it's all you can think about. Feels like it's the only thing out of this. Another thing is that when you are suicidal, most of the time, you're depressed. And when you're depressed, you feel like you're a failure. You feel like nothing will ever get better and your life will never amount to anything. When you're actively suicidal, it feels like hope is such an impossible thing to find. Like my mother once said, you don't see what's happening when you're inside the storm. You only see the storm. You don't see a sunnier place. You don't see a field that has clear skies. You only see that storm. Let's talk about why people say or even have this debate in the first place on if suicidal is selfish. As I said earlier, when you're actively suicidal, you don't think about anything else other than the storm going on in your head. But there are people that you leave behind. You might not think that they will feel much when you do pass away. Oftentimes, that's not true. People do care about you. You just don't see it. A quote I hear a lot is the fact that suicide doesn't stop the pain, it just passes on to another person. And I understand the sentiment. I understand that when you do pass away, you do leave behind loved ones or people you never even thought of as loved ones, people who you never realized loved you. But I also know suicide is not out of malice. It is not done out of revenge, but a way out, a way to be at peace. By arguing that suicide is selfish, you are arguing that the person committing is doing it out of spite or something that they want, when in reality, suicidal people don't want to feel that way. Struggling with mental illness is being in a constant battle, a war that no one can see. That's why self harm exists. And while this video mainly focuses on suicide, self harm is still a big part of it. For the same reason why suicide isn't selfish, self harm isn't either. Something I always tell people when I find out that they're in a really bad place, to the point where suicide is actively on their mind, is to do whatever it takes to survive. Because at the end of the day, the important part is being alive. You can focus on making it better when you are better. Suicide is not the answer, but that doesn't mean we can empathize with those struggling. That doesn't mean we punch down on those already at their lowest. The ideology that suicide is selfish is not only harmful but also incorrect. If you, who is still watching this and listening, is someone that struggles, I promise you, help does exist. Medication and therapy work. I can vouch for that myself. It gets easier, less intense, less consuming. You are loved. You are cared for. You matter. You have a place in this world.